Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating financial playbook. We're going to focus on the actual honest math behind building wealth in your 20s and 30s. Stripping away all those social media myths and looking at what the numbers actually say about escaping the usual financial rat race. So let's get into it.
So I want to start with a massive question, one that literally impacts every single dollar or rupee we earn and spend. Is inflation actually hovering around that 4 to 6% mark the official government data always claims? I mean, we hear that number constantly, right? But is that the actual reality for our wallets?
Well, spoiler alert, the reality is actually way different. For the middle class, true inflation is secretly eating away closer to 8 to 10% of your purchasing power every single year. See, those standard indexes, they track the cost of things like tomatoes and onions. But let's be real, those aren't exactly our biggest, most stressful life expenses, are they?
So, to survive this, we're following a 4-part playbook today. The real inflation rate, avoiding high-risk trading traps, long-term purchasing power strategy, and finally, the bucket system strategy.
Okay, Section 1, the real inflation rate, uncovering the hidden tax on your wealth.
When you look at where our money actually goes, the real problem just slaps you in the face. While the official CPI sits around that nice, safe 6%, our major life expenses are compounding so much faster. I'm talking education rising at over 10% and healthcare inflating at an absolutely wild 13 to 14%. So just tracking standard CPI, it completely vastly underestimates how much your life is actually going to cost in the future.
Think about it like this. Remember the price of a simple samosa from your childhood? It used to cost what, maybe 5 rupees? Today, that exact same samosa might be 20 rupees. That right there is the perfect, terrifying visual of your money literally losing its value over time. The value of the samosa hasn't changed at all. It still fills you up the exact same way, but the price has quadrupled. If you had just stuffed that original 5 rupee coin in a drawer, you literally couldn't even afford a bite today. We really have to focus on the value of our money, not just the raw number sitting in the bank account.
Okay, so let's look at the actual math here. Imagine someone parks 1 crore in a standard savings account getting, say, 3.5% interest. First of all, the government swoops in and takes a 30% tax right off that interest. Boom! That drops your actual return to just 2.45%. Now subtract that real inflation rate we talked about, that 8%, and what do you get? A negative 5.55% return. Yep, standard saving is actually a guaranteed loss of purchasing power. You are literally paying an invisible tax just to hold on to cash.
Which brings us to Section 2, avoiding high-risk trading traps, the fast ways to get poor.
Realizing that saving guarantees a loss, it causes massive financial panic. And that panic leads straight into traps designed to feed on your insecurity. Honestly, it usually comes down to 2 paths. You've got the fast way to get poor, which is chasing high-risk trends like futures and options trading, or even worse, taking out personal loans just to keep up with the flashy lifestyles of your old college friends. It's so easy to fall for that FOMO. But then you have the boring way to get rich, and that's just patience. Systematically putting money into index funds and letting it sit there for 10, 20, or 30 years. Boring? Yes. Effective? Absolutely.
But hey, even when you do invest, you gotta watch out for the hidden fees. This comparison is a huge wake-up call. Look at a direct index fund with an expense ratio of 0.18% and compare it to a regular broker fund charging 0.71%. I know, that difference sounds totally tiny, right? It's just a fraction of a percent. But trust me, over 5 or 10 years on a solid investment, that supposedly tiny broker fee will absolutely devour hundreds of thousands from your long-term wealth, all just to pay someone else's commissions. Always check your expense ratios.
Moving on to Section 3, long-term purchasing power strategy. Offense is your best defense.
Because saving is a guaranteed loss and high-risk trading is a total trap, we have to go on the offense. To build real wealth, you have to shift your focus to your income, not just your investments. It's all about increasing your scale. You do this by upgrading your job address, meaning moving to cities or countries where your specific skills are just valued higher. You need to master one niche until you're literally in the top 1% of that field. And honestly, the most crucial part, ruthlessly cutting out the status games. Ignore how your peers are spending. Your goal is your own financial freedom, not trying to win a fake status game that you can't even afford.
Now, to track this long-term offense, there's this brilliant mental model called the Rule of 72. It's super simple. You just take the number 72 and divide it by your expected annual interest rate. That tells you exactly how many years it'll take for your money to double. So a 12% return, 72 divided by 12 is 6. Your money doubles every 6 years. But if you only get a 7% return, it's going to take over 10 years. Memorizing this little rule completely changes how you look at every single investment opportunity.
And finally, Section 4, the bucket system strategy, managing your money horizons.
Now that we've got the mindset and the math locked down, let's break down exactly where you should put your paycheck using a brilliantly simple framework. The whole idea is to separate your money into time buckets based on when you actually need it. First up, the 1-year bucket, cash you need soon. This stays ultra safe and liquid, like in a high-yield savings or liquid fund. Next, the 3-year bucket. This money seeks stability, like debt funds. And finally, the 10-plus-year bucket. This is the money going straight into equity markets, like an index fund, so it can actively fight that 8% real inflation. The golden rule here, never ever mix the buckets up.
I wanted to leave you with this legendary thought from Warren Buffett to really tie everything together. Growing wealthy in your 20s and 30s, it isn't about making wild speculative bets. It's about never letting inflation, crazy high fees, or bad lifestyle trends steal what you've worked so hard to build. Protect your capital, go on the absolute offense with your career, and just let time do the heavy lifting in the markets. So I want you to ask yourself right now, based on exactly where your money is sitting today, are you actually building wealth, or are you quietly guaranteeing a loss? Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.